Hi, I'm Keith Schwartz. Welcome to tape 4 of the Fundamentals of Judo. In this tape, we'll be getting more into the fighting techniques because by this point, if you've watched tapes 1 through 3, you should be fairly well grounded in the fundamentals. We'll cover some fundamental techniques, but in this tape and tapes to come, we'll be working more on fine-tuning your fighting abilities. Let's begin with a variation on a grip. Forms of gripping are called kumikata, and this technique is called the double sleeve grip. And it's simply either locking and grabbing both the wrists or grabbing the sleeves of the gi. Dave Williams, who was an Olympic team alternate and somebody I was very fortunate to grow up working out with, once said to me a very important thing. He said, "Keith, don't grab the gi when you can grab the body." So my advice to you is if your hands are large and strong enough to control his wrists, take his wrists rather than his gi. That way you avoid any play that he might be able to work his way out of the grip. Another nice grip to do is to bag in the gi and then clench over with the thumb like this. All right? Note also in judo that it's illegal to insert a finger or fingers into the sleeve. All right? From a double sleeve grip, there's a lot of good attacks you can do. You remember shoulder throw that we've covered in a previous tape. From a double sleeve grip, I can bring his shoulder or bring his sleeve across and apply a shoulder throw. And he doesn't have any protection to slap the mat. So for a self-defense situation, that's an excellent move. He has no way to regulate how hard he hits the ground, and you're the one that does the regulation. In a self-defense situation, how hard you drop him decides how hard he's going to fall. The next technique is a grip breaking technique, and it's called wrap-around grip breaks. If he was to grab my lapel, I can wrap around inside, hook over the arm. Break the grip. I can come in from the outside. And break the grip. If he was to grab my sleeve, again, I can work around from the inside and over to break the grip. And I can come around from the outside and up to break the grip. This type of grip break, This type of grip break is extremely effective in competition judo. And it's used probably more than any other grip break I can think of. It's very strong, it ties up the fingers, the hand loses strength, it has to let go. Now we get on to kazushi, or balance breaking. We should have learned the fundamentals by this point, so now we're going to get into some competitive aspects of how to break a person's balance. What a green belt must be able to demonstrate is action-reaction. And this is initiated by both tori and uke. Tori is the person who will eventually execute the technique. Uke is the person who will eventually receive the technique. By action-reaction, I mean, if he pushes me, I will feint resistance, I will feint a push back, get him to commit to his push, and then I will pull. That's action-reaction. Okay? This one is initiated by the uke. Now if he pulls, I'll feint. I'll feint, pull, and then push. And the advantages for things like this are, if he pushes against me, I push, I get him to push against with maximum resistance, then I apply the throwing technique. Throwing technique. Conversely, if he thinks I'm totally committed to resisting his pull, and he pulls against me, pull hard, I can apply a throwing technique to the rear. Rear. Now, if I initiate the action-reaction, it's something like this. If he goes with what I do, if I pull him and he just comes along with it, that's great. Then I just throw. All right? But if he resists it, what I can do is use his reaction to throw him. I pull, he resists. I throw him in the direction he's resisting. If I push him and he goes with it, that's great. Throw. However, if I push him and he resists, that's okay too. I can still throw him by using whatever he decides to do. Those are the basic forms of action-reaction. Now for ukemi, or falling technique, we're going to cover some of the more advanced falling techniques in judo. The first one is leaping roll falls. And for this, what you have to do is to, first of all, have the basic roll fall, where you start from either a right or left natural position, rolling through, slapping with the left, guard hand with the right, feet even. Once you've mastered that, then you can take a running start and you plant, if you're doing a right side roll fall, your right foot, and it should be a flying roll fall that looks something like this. All right, Ed, why don't you demonstrate a few? Ed's going to leap over me and try not to touch me at all. Once on the way back. Okay, very good. When you get better at this, you can bring it up higher. And again. Very good. Very good, thank you. All right, now round-offs. Round-offs are important as a defensive skill against throws, as we'll see in a moment. Before you can learn a round-off, you should first know a cartwheel. To do a cartwheel, just have your body extend out with the limbs out like the spokes of a wheel, and roll and push off with your legs to drive your body up over the top. All right? Practice both sides. Your direction should be the same direction you started with. For a round-off, you want to turn your body 90 degrees in midair so that you end up facing the direction you came from. An example. Okay, and then on the way back, now we're going to cover some newaza or mat technique. There are 5 basic mat work positions or groundwork fighting positions that you're going to normally find yourself. Any way you're lying or fighting on the ground can usually be grouped under one of these 5 sections. And they are, my students Lowell and Ed will demonstrate. Head to head, where both opponents are up on either both knees or up on one knee and one foot and facing each other. All right. The other positions are legs around top, legs around bottom, where Lowell is legs around top, Ed is legs around bottom, and this position is very useful for both of them in entering into hold downs. Lowell's objective from this position would be to get around those legs. Ed's objective would be to turn Lowell over. And you'll notice too that Ed can certainly bring the legs around to trap Lowell to prevent him from coming around or make it very difficult for him to get around his legs. All right, so we've got head to head, legs around top, legs around bottom, hands and knees top, hands and knees bottom are the next 2 positions for mat work. Also known as referee's position in wrestling, hands and knees top, hands and knees bottom. All right, Ed definitely has an advantage from this situation. Although there are many techniques Lowell can do, Ed has a strategic advantage by being on Lowell's flank, where Lowell's weapons are turned away from him. And once again to review the 5 basic mat work positions. Head to head, legs around top, legs around bottom, and hands and knees top, hands and knees bottom. Okay, thank you. All right, Ed, you stay here. Now on to the throwing techniques that are the requirements for green belt in my club. These are from the 3rd kyo of the Gokyo no Waza, which is the 5 stages of throwing technique of Kodokan Judo. And the first technique is Kosoto Gake. Kosoto Gake is a hooking technique to his foot, and it's a rear throw. Now, unlike Kosoto Gare, where we came around to the side and sickled out his foot with a reap, this is not a sweeper technique where you knock the bottom out from the top. This is a driver technique where you stop the bottom and push the top over. The way we'll stop the bottom for Kosoto Gake is to take my foot and take the Achilles tendon and place it right against his Achilles tendon and push him over the top of it. Now, to do this properly and to get him into a position to where he can be thrown, I do have to turn his shoulders very hard so that his weight bears onto the leg I'm attacking. You always want to try to attack the weight-bearing leg with a driver. With a sweeper, you want to attack the leg that's about to bear the weight. Okay. And again, a driver is a stance attacker. So what I want to do is to prevent him from recovering his stance as I push him. Very simple throw. You take your left foot and lunge out just like a fencing lunge. And drive him down. You'll notice I can go right down to the ground with him. If you release grips, you certainly could remain standing. Okay? But in this technique, I do recommend dropping to the knee and following up. So again, we're both starting from a right natural stance. I lunge across. Notice the angle of attack. Notice the driver leg extending. And now, Kosoto Gake, one more time. Our next technique is called Surigoshi. And it's a belt gripping throw, but we just call it belt grip hip roll. You grip the back of the belt and you throw as in Ogoshi. But the difference is in Ogoshi where you clamp him onto your hip and bring him over your hip. Surigoshi, you grab the belt and you lift and pull with that. Suri, it means to pull. So what we want to do, again from a conventional grip, we'll let the hand from the lapel release and slip around the back, grab the belt, and while I'm doing that, my step is coming in, my hip is coming in. I'm already pulling his body in tight. Now I bring the left leg back, the hip rolls across. And I pull him over with the belt grip as I steer him around with the sleeve grip. Again, Surigoshi is a roller technique. So the requirements for roller are I have to make body contact in order to bend his posture and roll him over my hip. So I have to get in close. Tsurugoshi is impossible from here. If my hip never makes contact, I can't make this throw. So I have to get in close, bend his body, and throw. And once again. The next technique is Yoko Otoshi, or side dropping throw. Yoko Otoshi is another driver technique, and this will be the first sacrifice technique, or Sutemi Waza technique, that we've covered up to this point. Okay, the way to execute Yoko Otoshi is off a conventional grip. What I'm going to do is to drop down and sit right on his right foot. And at that point, I have to lunge my leg out this way and attempt to throw him to his side. Now the way I do that is the arms, the shoulders turn, and you must have your chest and face pointing towards the ground when you finish. Don't land on your back. Okay, so this is the technique. Once again. You'll notice that I extend him out well beyond my body. I'm not falling back down onto my back. I'm driving off my right leg, bringing it through as hard as I can to extend him out to the side as far as possible. And once again, Yoko Otoshi. Notice my eyes always have my opponent in their view on this technique on the way down. I'm focusing on an area on the mat. As he lands, he comes within my field of vision, and I watch everything he does on the mat. In a competitive situation, I'd immediately go for a hold down, armbar, or choke. In a self-defense situation, it would depend on the circumstances. But in any case, this is a very powerful maneuver. Whenever you do Sutemi Waza, you not only have a driver leg generating force for your throw, you also have the falling weight of your body adding to the force of the throw. So they're very dynamic moves. Granted, you sacrifice your standing position, which in self-defense can be dangerous. But in competition, this is a very effective move. And once again. The next technique for a green belt is ashiguruma. Ashiguruma is leg wheel, and it works very similar to hizaguruma, or a knee wheel. In hizaguruma, as you recall, we plant the driver out to his side, swing a leg up to block his knee out. We get that foot right into the hollow just above the kneecap. We lock him out on that foot and drive him over the top. If his leg were to lock out and my hands were to steer him out over the top, that's how we go. Now the difference is with ashiguruma, we're going neutral stance. With ashiguruma, we're not going to be facing him. We're going to pivot and be facing in the same direction as he is. And the leg will come across with the lower section of the calf to prop. And the arm motion must have a strong pull right from the beginning. Notice again, as in hizaguruma, I don't have to keep the prop on his leg for long, just enough to lock out the knee. After the knee locks out, it's going to stay that way long enough for me to make the entire technique. So I step across, pivot again, and place it here, just long enough to make the action. The whole time drawing him forward over his right foot. So from the first step, the pull begins. Step. And ashiguruma. The next technique on the road to green belt is hanigoshi, or hip springs throw. And hanigoshi is very similar to ukigoshi in that you use the hip point to lift him up. The difference is you don't stop there. You extend the leg by bending your knee so it blocks his leg, and then you extend the hip as high as you can. I like to do this technique off a high collar grip. And again, making the shoulders meet, bringing his bicep under my chin, putting his chin on my bicep. I step in close so the body's locked tight. Drive the left leg back in and throw. And throw. Notice how the leg doesn't go to the outside or the inside of his leg, but rather blocks the entire leg. In fact, if I wasn't wearing this gi, you could see his kneecap poking through there. This again, hanigoshi. First step here, I'm already pulling. Create a pull. Off balance him to the front. And once again, Hanigoshi. Notice if I keep the collar grip, he ends up in a position very much like a choke. Right from there. If I drive my knee into him, it's already a choke. And again, Hanigoshi. If the man is a lot heavier than you, what you might want to try is rather than the high collar grip, especially if he's much taller, reach around just under his shoulder blade or under his armpit, right at his shoulder blade. Take your Hanigoshi from there. The next technique is Harai Tsurukomiyashi, or a retreating foot sweep. In Harai Tsurukomiyashi, you want to advance on him or as he's retreating and get the foot that's going backwards, catch it as it's taking its step and extend his step through where he meant to place it. Keep it up off the ground and he'll be thrown over it. So if we start here, right there. Many people see Harai Tsurukomiyashi and they confuse it with Sasai Tsurukomiyashi. Sasai was covered in the yellow belt requirements. The difference with Sasai is that it's a driver. Harai Tsurukomiyashi is a sweeper where you sweep the bottom out. Sasai, you stop the bottom, push the top over. And again, in Harai, you sweep the bottom. As it's moving, extend it beyond the range that he meant to step. So as he's stepping backwards, retreating, sweep it, pull it behind him. The hands will steer him onto his back. And once again, Harai Tsurukomiyashi. The next technique for green belt promotion is tomonagi, circle throw. You can do double lapel grip. This is the way I recommend beginners to learn this. With double lapel up by the shoulder blades, you have a little more control of him than a sleeve and lapel grip. And it's a little easier to prevent him from hitting his head as he goes over. Circle throw is the one you've seen in so many cowboy movies. A lot of judo clubs call it the cowboy throw. And the way you do this technique is to take the ball of the foot, place it at the base of the abdomen, just below the belt line, right there. And practice focusing that position right in the center until you can do it instantly. Once it's there, you should leap off your left foot and sit underneath him. Don't make this common mistake of placing it, trying to fall back and throw. It won't happen. Because by doing that, you're simply using your falling body weight to bend him over. There's nothing to propel him into the throw. What you have to do is to sit down under him, place your driver leg, which is your left leg in a right tomoe-nage, behind him to create your angle of attack. So from here, double lapel grip, place the foot and leap in and throw. And throw. Once again, tomoe-nage. Again, double lapel grip for safety. Place the foot, leap in, tuck in, and throw. Tuck in, and throw. If you want to stutter step or kind of shuffle in, that's okay too. And in a competitive situation, of course, from tomoe-nage, you follow into mat work technique. The final throw for green belt requirement is kataguruma, or shoulder wheel. This is a lifter technique where you have to be physically capable of lifting your opponent's weight. Off a conventional grip, I lunge in again with that fencer's lunge, but this time I lunge in and underhook his leg, pull it tight into my shoulder, and I want the back of my head to be at his hip. If it's into his ribs, don't even attempt to lift him. It won't happen. You have to dive deep. You have to pull hard on his right arm to get him to go across your back. If you don't pull hard with this and you just dive in, he'll cover up. You won't be able to get into the technique. So in the kata, you actually grip inside in nage no kata, or the first kata of judo forms of throwing. You actually grip him right at the bicep to get that arm out of the way. Pulling, lunging in deep. Now my left leg comes in tight to be a double driver, and over he goes. Again. Pulling across, using my legs, keeping my back straight. All right? It's real easy to hurt your back if you try to lift a person up with your legs locked out and your back bent. Try to always keep your back straight in judo, and if you have to get lower, do it by bending your knees. Practice in a lot of drills. Being down here. Get comfortable in the squat position. Build leg strength from there. It's important to fight in judo that way. And again, strong pull. There he goes. Strong pull. That's the final throw for green belt requirements. Now we're going to cover the last line of defense against throws. You'll recall in previous tapes we worked on blocking and cutting, jump arounds, and the last line is turnouts. Now is a chance where you're going to get to use your roundoffs. If I was to apply Ogoshi on Ed, if he knows a roundoff, he's just avoided a score. If I attack with Sasai, he can still round. He can still round off and avoid a score once again. Sometimes he won't be able to get to his feet. If I make a very powerful throw, he might land on his knees. But the results are still that he avoided a score in competition. Of course, that last one, do it once again. All right, see here, he left his arm dangerously exposed for an arm lock. We'll cover those later. Now we get into the holding techniques, or osakomiwaza, required for green belt. The first is tate shiogatami, straddling hold. Lay with your head this way. As the name suggests, you have to straddle the opponent, but it's not the schoolyard straddle hold where you pinned a person's arms down and kept your chest up off the ground. You have to try for your chest-to-chest contact. The classical variation of this is to reach between his head and his shoulder, down, grip the belt, feed it in. Take the shoulder, lock it in tightly to your shoulder, and look at how my feet cup in on this technique. They're out here to drive if I need to post, but they come in tightly and control the hips. This is an extremely powerful hold down to use, and this chest-to-chest contact makes it very difficult to escape from. Once again from the side, turn with your head facing this way. Again, watch the arm motion. I'm reaching across here, feeding the belt in, taking the shoulder, pulling in tight. This is the hold. My head can post to the mat for additional support. Okay. Locking chest-to-chest contact is right here. Try to bear as much weight as possible down here. You'll notice chest-to-chest contact is effective. If he tries to sit up, try to sit up. Come on, try to sit up. I'm not pushing very hard at all. Okay? Try to turn over here. I have to move it over towards me. If I just move the contact on the chest in relation to what type of escape he's making, I can keep him down on the mat. The next hold down technique is kata gatami, or shoulder lock. The way we apply this technique is to bring the arm across the side of the head, underhook the head, with palm down, clasp my own hand. Again, it's important never to interlace the fingers. If you interlace your fingers, they can be crushed by your opponent and broken. Here, if he squeezes your hands, you'll be able to survive it and you won't get hurt. All right? Notice how my head is clamping in on his tricep. The neck and the head and the shoulder are driving in, driving forward very aggressively. The knee is pushed in tight against the hip. And the left leg is out wide like an outrigger to provide a strong base for the hold down. This is kata gatami. All right? A variation of kata gatami is to sit through in a running stride like stride hold. Okay? It's a change of the base, but the arm motion is the same, and the pressure